Well, another close call between the U.S. and China, this time, though, not in the sky. Multiple videos show a Chinese Navy ship coming dangerously close. Look at this, to an American destroyer. It happened Saturday in the Taiwan Strait. The Pentagon says the U.S. ship had to slow down suddenly in order to avoid a collision. It got that close. So for some insight, we are now joined by Navy veteran and senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, Bryan Clark. Bryan, thank you so much for being with us. First, is there any legitimate reason why this Chinese ship would have come so close to our U.S. ship?
No, Nicole, there isn't. This is clearly an irresponsible move, an act that was intended to intimidate the United States and send a message that they don't want us operating in places that are close to China, the South China Sea, the Taiwan Strait. And so this was clearly an unsafe navigation practice. You know, you could see from the video, there was no reason why the Chinese ship needed to cut in front of the U.S. ship. The reports I saw show that it was within 150 yards of the U.S. ship, which is extremely close. So you can imagine a ship takes a long time to stop, unlike a car. So if you put the brakes on as hard as you can, you're going to be hard pressed to be able to stop in that kind of distance. So very unsafe, and kudos to the ship, the U.S. ship, for being able to maneuver around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we take a look at that video, there just came so dangerously close there. Bryan, as you know, over the weekend, Defense Secretary Austin said the U.S. would not flinch in the face of bullying or coercion. In your opinion, is that what China is trying to do? Are they trying to bully or coerce the U.S. into some type of reaction?
Absolutely. I think what they're trying to do is push back on the United States and its freedom of navigation operations. The U.S. has been doing both operations at sea as well as in the air to do surveillance on the Chinese in international waters and international airspace, and the Chinese don't like it. So they will routinely fly out close to U.S. airplanes, as you can see, drive close to U.S. warships, in an effort to create unsafe conditions that will lead the U.S. to back down in an effort to avoid a collision or some other catastrophe. So we've seen in the past, the USNS, impeccable U.S. survey ship, ran into a Chinese Coast Guard maritime militia ship back in 2010, and then the EP3 incident back in 2001. There's been cases where China has been able to, force these kind of interactions that they believe will cause the U.S. to back down.
Well, Bryan, China's foreign minister today said China's actions were lawful and that the U.S. needs to, quote, reflect on the mistakes they made. What do you think the foreign minister meant by that statement? What mistakes, as he describes them or defines them, is he alluding to?
Right. So the Chinese actions were not lawful. Under the rules of navigation for open ocean navigation, you're not supposed to pull in front of another ship like that. The U.S. ship had the right of way in that situation. Just like if you're driving, if a car pulls up on your left, you're not supposed to continue driving on. You're supposed to give way. Now, in terms of what the U.S. has done, the U.S. has been pushing back on Chinese aggression in the South China Sea. You could hear from Secretary Austin's remarks. The U.S. has not been conciliatory towards China in its effort to coerce its neighbors, particularly Taiwan. Also, the U.S. shot down the Chinese spy balloon over the United States, or after it passed the United States, which China saw as an act of provocation against one of their civilian surveillance balloons, weather balloon. So they see those as actions that were provocative and illegal, and therefore this is their response, because that's the Chinese argument.
Well, Bryan, as you know, and what's a bit ironic here is State Department officials in Beijing for bilateral talks. How crucial are these meetings? Are these talks? And is there really any type of common ground to be found at this point?
Well, there's probably not a lot of common ground. I mean, I think China, the Chinese leadership is deliberately creating an adversarial situation because they want to portray the U.S. as being unreasonable and intransigent, because China is mounting its own diplomatic efforts both in Asia as well as in Ukraine, where they've been trying to broker peace deals. They've also been active in the Middle East. So China's been active on the world stage as a diplomatic power broker, and they want to make the U.S. seem like we're the unreasonable one. So it's unlikely they're going to back down. These talks are really they're more symbolic than they are, practical. But the one place where they do come into play is when you do have incidents like we saw today with the ship, where you want to be able to call up your counterpart and explain what happened and try to, resolve the situation before it escalates. It's hard to do that if you haven't had any conversations with that person at all.
Absolutely. All right. Bryan Clark with the Hudson Institute. I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure, Nichole. Great to be here.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.